Michigan without the tourist traps, the bumper-to-bumper summer traffic, and the excuse me, pardon me lifestyle? It exists, and we found 12 of them. One has a nationally ranked golf course and fewer people than a mid-sized apartment building. Another sits on Lake Michigan with a downtown so quiet that parking is never once a conversation. There's a town where the nearest traffic light is 45 minutes away and the residents consider that a feature, not a bug. And number 7 has a Great Lake shoreline, a haunted lighthouse, and a permanent population you could fit in a high school classroom. Subscribe now or keep circling for parking. Those are your 2 options. Starting at number 12, Frankfort. Population around 1,200 on Lake Michigan just south of Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore, and a town whose single street downtown lines both Lake Michigan and Betsy Lake, simultaneously 2 bodies of water. One street, 1,200 people. Frankfort Beach gives residents direct Lake Michigan access without the Traverse City crowds that arrive 40 minutes north. The Frankfort North Breakwater Lighthouse is one of the most photographed in northern Michigan and accessible by a short walk. The marinas on Betsy Lake give boaters a protected harbor on one side and open Lake Michigan on the other. Sleeping Bear Dunes, consistently voted the most beautiful place in America, is a short drive away without requiring you to live among its summer visitors. Frankfort is the answer to a specific question. What if I want everything Traverse City offers but none of Traverse City's traffic? The answer is 1,200 people and 2 waterfronts. The next town is even smaller, and its outdoor access is more serious. Number 11, Calumet, around 700 people. In the Keweenaw Peninsula at the top of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, a National Historic Landmark District, and one of the most genuinely remote towns on this list, which is exactly why it made it. Calumet was a copper mining boomtown in the late 1800s, at its peak one of the wealthiest communities in America per capita. The Italian Hall disaster of 1913 and the collapse of the copper industry turned it into something quieter. What's left is a town with architecture that belongs in a much larger city, sitting in one of the most remote corners of Michigan, surrounded by forests that connect to hundreds of miles of hiking and snowmobile trails. The Keweenaw gets 200-plus inches of snow in a serious winter. The people who live in Calumet know this and stay anyway. If you are the type of person who moves toward weather rather than away from it, Calumet is a town that has been waiting for you specifically. Number 10 is less remote, but just as quiet. Number 10, Rogers City, around 2,500 people. On Lake Huron in Presque Isle County, and a town where the marina sits right downtown, not at the edge of town, not a drive away. Right downtown. The boats are visible from the coffee shop. Burt Lake, Mullet Lake, and Black Lake are all within easy reach. Burt Lake ranked among Michigan's top 50 fishing lakes. The Rogers City Theater is a genuine small-town cinema that locals describe with the affection reserved for things that should have disappeared years ago, but somehow didn't. The Tomahawk Lake State Forest Campground gives residents wilderness access without a long drive. Rogers City has no viral moment, no famous festival, no reason for crowds to arrive. It has a marina, 3 fishing lakes, and a cinema. For people who hate crowds, the absence of a reason for crowds to arrive is the selling point. Number 9 is on the other side of the state, and its crowds arrive for exactly 2 weeks a year and then disappear entirely. Number 9, Caseville, around 800 people. On Lake Huron in the Thumb, and the town that hosts the Cheeseburger and Caseville Festival every August, when 100,000 Jimmy Buffett fans descend on a village of 800 for 2 weeks of Hawaiian shirts and margaritas. Here is what nobody tells you about Caseville. For 50 weeks a year, it is one of the quietest Lake Huron towns in the Thumb. The festival happens, and then it leaves. The population goes from 800 to 100,800, and then back to 800 in the time it takes to put away the parrot hats. If you can plan a weekend trip around the festival window, Caseville gives you Lake Huron access. a genuine small-town community, and prices that reflect the Thumb's general policy of staying affordable despite being completely surrounded by water. Number 8 is further north. No festival, no crowds. Ever, number 8. Ironwood, around 5,000 people. At the western tip of the Upper Peninsula, average home value $98,000, cost of living 13% below the state average, more than 20% of residents over 65, the highest share of any town on this list. The Black River National Scenic Byway runs 18 miles north to Lake Superior, passing 5 separate waterfalls. 5. On one road. 18 miles from a town where the median home costs $98,000. The historic Ironwood Theater still runs performances in a building that has been part of the downtown since the early 1900s. The Finnish Heritage Center is the only one of its kind in America. Ironwood does not have a crowd problem. Ironwood has never had a crowd problem. The winters guarantee it. The location guarantees it. The people who live there chose it specifically because it guarantees it. If you've made it this far, hit subscribe. We find these towns every week, the ones with quiet built into the geography. Now back to the list. Number 7. Pointe Aux Barques Township. The least populated municipality in the state of Michigan. 15 permanent residents. The name comes from French sailors and 1760 point of ships. The lighthouse is said to be haunted. If you hate crowds, 15 neighbors is not a bug. It is the entire value proposition. The Thumb of Michigan sits on Lake Huron on 3 sides. It is literally surrounded by water and remains one of the least visited regions in the state. There is no famous draw. There is no viral moment. There are 15 people, a haunted lighthouse, and Lake Huron visible in every direction. The broader Port Hope area nearby gives residents access to actual services while maintaining the Thumb's foundational commitment to being the part of Michigan that the rest of Michigan forgot to visit. Number 6 is further south. More people. Still no crowds. Number 6. Menominee, around 8,000 people, southern tip of the Upper Peninsula on Green Bay. Average home value $163,000. Cost of living 7% below the Michigan state average. John Hees Park has a lakefront swimming beach, fishing, and hiking trails that locals use like a backyard. The North Pier Lighthouse opens for tours in summer. The Menominee Historic Downtown Farmers Market runs spring through fall. The marina offers boat rentals. The Senior Citizen Center provides organized programming. Menominee sits directly across the river from Marinette, Wisconsin, which means commercial access without living in a commercial area. Green Bay Waterfront. Farmers Market. Lighthouse. $163,000 median home. No traffic. The formula is right there, and the crowd has not yet done the math. Number 5 has golf, national-level golf, with almost no one playing it. Number 5, Houghton Lake, around 3,500 people. On Michigan's largest inland lake, median home price around $244,950. Median age above 55, which for people who hate crowds means the neighbors went through that phase already and came out the other side. Forest Dunes Golf Club holds top 100 status in Golf Digest, not top 100 in Michigan, top 100 nationally. On Michigan's largest inland lake. In a town of 3,500 people. If you golf and you hate standing in a tee time queue behind 12 other groups, Houghton Lake is solving a problem you did not know Michigan could solve. Lakeview Waterfront Park gives residents fishing access for pike and bluegill directly on the lake. The Pines Theater was voted Northern Michigan's top movie theater by local viewers. In summer, the lake is active. In winter, it is one of the largest ice fishing operations in the region. The crowds that arrive for ice fishing season are the specific kind of crowd that people who hate crowds generally don't mind. They are focused entirely on the fish and have no interest in you. Number 4 is in the Upper Peninsula, and its quiet is the structural kind built into the geography permanently. Number 4. Negaunee, around 4,673 people. 7 miles from Marquette, former iron mining city. Chippewa word for pioneer. Century-old buildings in a historic downtown that has maintained its character through every economic cycle the Upper Peninsula has thrown at it. The specific Negaunee formula is this. You get 7 miles from Marquette's hospital, university, airport, and brewery scene, and you also get 7 miles from Marquette's prices and Marquette's increasingly discovered tourist energy. 7 miles is exactly the distance between being connected to infrastructure and being insulated from the people that infrastructure attracts. Negaunee's downtown reflects its mining heritage in a way that gives it an identity that residential suburbs never develop. The trails around town connect to the broader Up Trail network. The winters are what Upper Peninsula winters are. The people who moved here knew that and chose it anyway. Number 3 is a college town, which sounds like the wrong entry on a list about avoiding crowds. It isn't. Number 3, Alma, around 9,000 people. Ingratiate County in central Michigan, home to Alma College. Median listing home price $179,500. A Highland festival every May that brings Scottish dancing and piping to a central Michigan town with no obvious connection to Scotland and somehow pulls it off annually. Alma College is a liberal arts institution of 400 students, small enough that the college energy enriches the town without overwhelming it. The Alma Brewing Company gives residents a local gathering spot. The Pine River flows through town for canoeing and kayaking. My Michigan Medical Center Alma is a 97-bed teaching hospital right in town. The specific reason Alma makes a crowd haters list is this. It is a college town sized for people who want college town energy without college town crowds. 1,400 students is not Ann Arbor. It is not East Lansing. It is 1,400 students in a town of 9,000 who share a river and a brewery and a Highland festival and mostly leave each other alone about it. Number 2 is further north, and it has something that makes summer crowds irrelevant because the crowds go somewhere else. Number 2, Mackinaw City. Around 800 people, at the very tip of Michigan's Lower Peninsula, where Lake Michigan meets Lake Huron, known as the gateway to the Upper Peninsula. And a town that handles crowds in the most efficient way possible. It lets them pass through on their way to somewhere else. Mackinaw City is where people stop before taking the ferry to Mackinac Island or the bridge to the Upper Peninsula. They arrive, they buy fudge, they cross. The crowds are real in summer, but they are transit crowds, not resident crowds. They are moving through. The people who live in Mackinaw City have figured out how to live inside a tourist throughway without being consumed by it. The Straits of Mackinac are visible from essentially every point in town two Great Lakes meeting at the northern tip of the Lower Peninsula, with the Mackinac Bridge spanning the gap. Headlands International Dark Sky Park is nearby where northern lights are visible multiple times a year without driving anywhere significant. The city is surrounded by water on 3 sides. Mackinac Island costs 36% more on average. The view is the same from the mainland. Number 1 is not about emptiness. Number 1 is about a town that built its crowd-free life into the infrastructure permanently and has been living that way for over a century. Number 1, Marquette, around 20,800 people. On Lake Superior, the largest city in the Upper Peninsula, and the specific Michigan city that people visit once and then spend the next 3 years figuring out how to move to. Marquette is not empty. It has a university, a regional hospital, an airport, a downtown brewery scene, and a cultural calendar that runs year-round. What it doesn't have is the crowd problem that comes with being discovered at scale. The Upper Peninsula's geography protects it. You have to mean to be here. You do not accidentally end up in Marquette. You drive 4 hours from the Mackinac Bridge through forests and small towns specifically to arrive in Marquette. That drive filters the crowd before it arrives. Presque-Isle Park covers 323 acres of Lake Superior shoreline within the city limits trails, picnic spots, and a lighthouse that locals use on weekdays like it's a neighborhood park. Because it is. The Iron Ore Heritage Trail runs through town connecting historical mining sites. The Up Beer Fest draws visitors who come specifically for the craft beer and then leave, which is the ideal tourist behavior from a resident's perspective. Up Health System Marquette is the regional medical center for the entire Upper Peninsula, which means Marquette has hospital infrastructure that most cities its size cannot justify. Northern Michigan University keeps the median age lower than the rest of the Up. The median home value sits near $265,000 reasonable for everything the city provides. Marquette is number one on a list about avoiding crowds because it has solved the problem at the geographic level. You cannot accidentally end up here. The people who are here chose to be here. And that self-selection produces exactly the kind of community that people who hate crowds were looking for in the first place. So that's the list. 12 Michigan towns for people who are done with crowds. A Lake Michigan double waterfront town of 1,200 people. A copper boom town turned quiet historic district in the Calumet. A Lake Huron marina town with 3 fishing lakes. A Jimmy Buffett town that is quiet 50 weeks a year. A uptown with 5 waterfalls on one road. 15 residents and a haunted lighthouse. A Green Bay waterfront for $163,000. A nationally ranked golf course with almost nobody on it. A mining town 7 miles from world-class infrastructure. A college town sized for people who hate college town crowds. A gateway city where the tourists pass through. And a Lake Superior city that filters its own crowd at the geographic level. Michigan without the tourist traps, the summer traffic, and the pardon me lifestyle. It exists. We found 12 of them. Subscribe to the channel. We find more every week.